All right. Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth session of Investing in Cryptocurrency, a Brave New Wealth. My name is Beverly Law, and I'm your host for today's session. I am a second year master student in management at NUS Business School. In today's session, we will dive deeper in the topic of careers in cryptocurrency and different career opportunities you have if you want to enter the industry. If you also are curious about this topic, please type in your questions in the comment box and hopefully we can answer them. And today we will have the pleasure to be accompanied by Branson. Welcome, Branson. How are you?
Hi, good. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm very excited for this session.
Yep. Let's hope
Yeah,
everyone tune in. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. All right, please introduce yourself. Who are you and why are you here today?
Sure. So I have been in the industry for coming to about 4 years. So I first started in this industry with a blockchain enterprise project, and we went on to raise about 15,000 ethers at that point of time. And thereafter, I actually embarked on another so-called company. So a VC fund actually wanted to start an exchange in Singapore, and that was when they actually approached me, and I agreed. So we started the cryptocurrency exchange in 2018, and towards the month of August 2020, we actually got into the sandbox with MES. Yeah, so that was
Mm.
a highlight for us. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very interesting. Yeah, so for those of you who just joined, we're talking today about career opportunities in cryptocurrency. So feel free to ask any questions that you have in the comment box and we will answer them. And I believe you have some slides to share, right, Branson?
Yep, that's right. Yep. So I prepared something. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, can see it.
Okay. So yeah, thanks, Beverly. So essentially, I think a lot of people are interested in joining the crypto industry. But of course, the million-dollar question would be, how do you get started in this space, right? So I've
Mm,
prepared about 15 to 17 slides, and hopefully that will give you some ideas on how to, start thinking about, embarking on this fantastic journey into the crypto world. Okay, so but before we start, I think it is always worthwhile to spend some time understanding, what has changed since 2010, right?
mm,
So since 2010, we have seen tremendous changes, right? So just for the information for all of us here, 2009 was when this person called, or a group of persons, Satoshi Nakamoto, wrote a white paper on Bitcoin, right?
mm,
So that was the start of the entire blockchain slash crypto industry. But ever since then, I think a lot of things have changed. In fact, some people have commented that, uh, a month in the crypto industry is actually almost a year in the traditional finance world, right?
mm.
So as of as you can see on your screen, the blockchain industry is estimated to be worth about $3.1 trillion by the year 2030, right? In fact, I think a few months ago, Coinbase, which is one of the largest exchanges in the world, they went public in US at a valuation of 100 billion. Right. In 2018, there were a lot of talks about ICO projects and whatnot. That raised about $11.4 billion. And in terms of investments into blockchain startups, it crossed $5 billion. In fact, I'll share the next slide with you.
Mm.
Even for crypto companies in 2021, right? A lot of venture capital investments is actually they're pouring a lot of money into all different startups,
Yeah.
projects and whatnot. Okay. Of course, it is worthwhile to also understand, this thing called NFTs. Of course, it's not my aim to explain what NFT is or go into the technicalities of it, but essentially it is something like a non-fungible token that allows artists, even singers, anyone on the more creative side to actually take advantage of tokenization, right?
Mm.
Just to put it simply, if you understand how actors and artists are being remunerated. Essentially, depending on how well the movie does, they'll be um, typically they are charged. They are paid based on how many episodes they appear in, as well as the appearance fee, right? And in music, more often than not, if you produce a song, um, the venture capital or actually any production houses, they will actually pay upfront a certain sum of money to the artist, right? But
Mm.
the issue with all this is that more often than not, the artists themselves are actually leaving a lot of money on the table, and the reason is because they often do not know how well the song will perform, and sometimes it could be a major blockbuster hit, and they would have lost out on a lot of all these royalties and streaming revenue, right? So
Mm.
the NFT space is trying to change this. So essentially, anyone can actually create a piece of art or song or whatever, and they can actually then receive royalties or even a cut of the revenue thereafter,
Mm.
right? So there are a plethora of companies trying to solve this problem, right? So
Mm.
as you can see on your screen, Dapper Labs, OpenSea. In fact, closer to home in Singapore, we have this company called Mintable. They also raised quite a large sum of money. Okay, so
Mm.
these are some examples. Okay, so moving on. In fact, coming back to the skill sets in the career, even LinkedIn lists, the top 10 hard skills for 2020. And you can see on the screen, blockchain is actually ranked number one, right? So I think going forward, this will be the common theme for the next few years, I would say. Blockchain, in fact, is a very much sought after skill amongst all the candidates, right?
Mm.
So, in fact, a lot of companies are trying to recruit um, candidates or new employees based on this uh, the specific skill of blockchain/crypto. Okay, so how do you get started, right? So I have actually put together a list of 7 tips. In fact, there are different steps for you to get started. Okay, so step number one, okay, very simple, right? Do a lot of research, right? And
Yeah.
that means reading widely and extensively, and absorb as much as you can, right? And more importantly, leave your biases at the door. Now, this I can share with you comes from personal experience. When the person started their journey into this Bitcoin slash blockchain world, typically you have a so-called biases, right? So, and this is very apparent in the crypto industry. People who get into the space, they first understand what Bitcoin is, and thereafter they just you know basically shut away from understanding any other technologies, right? For example, Ethereum or Solana or some other blockchains, right? The reason is because they believe that this is the only project that should exist, and therefore, any other coins or any other projects, they are just copycats or whatever, right? While there are
Mm.
some truths to some of the projects out there, but my suggestion is to leave the biases at the door, right, and try to understand what each project can bring to the table, right? So, which
Okay.
means learn as much as possible. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Yeah, sure.
You said that doing research is good. So, what are your recommendations of the best sources of doing your research?
Sure.
Where can I find this information?
Yeah. Thanks. So I've listed a few sources here. Of course, these are very generic sources. For example, you can go to CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. These two are basically a directory of all the different projects out there. Of course, it's not
Mm.
exhaustive, but that should give you an idea of how many projects or what are the top projects out there. They are often ranked according to their market cap, which is not a, I would say, not a very accurate reflection of the fundamentals. But having said that, that should be, I guess, a good starting point. That should be a good starting point. Uh, but what I would do after that is to go into each project and try to navigate to their website and understand or read their white paper, right? So
Mm.
that's how I would do it. And the third source I would say highly recommended would be Twitter, right? So a lot of the action I would say in the crypto space happens in Twitter. So if you are not on Twitter, then you are you are missing out on a lot of things. Okay.
Mm.
Fourth, YouTube. It could be a miss and hit, hit or miss. The reason is because most of these channels they could be promoting their own projects, so you got to be a little bit more careful here. And the reason why I
Mm.
say this is because some are scam projects. Some could be because the influencer themselves have received a huge chunk of the tokens, and therefore it is in their interest to actually, pump the project, right? That's the crypto speak for promoting a certain project, right? And finally, one of the things that I always do is to sign up for newsletters, right? So you have a lot of good sources, right? Once you go onto LinkedIn, you will be able to find out who are the top people to follow, and once you get that list, you start understanding, what they do, and some of these speakers they also put out their own mailing list and whatnot. So I would do that, and then from there I would be able to understand, the project in depth, I would say, right? So I think that's the first step.
Mhm.
The second step would be to join the community, right? I think this part is an extension of step one. So essentially, after you understand what projects out there sort of are interesting, then you would then start to look at the specific projects, right? So that would mean looking at their team experience, the roadmaps, uh, you know, evidence of execution. The reason is because you do not want to join a company that is sort of a part-time project or a scam project, right? So
Mm.
I would
Yeah.
actually look at evidence of execution, right? Better still if they have put out specific projects or specific implementations, right? So this is very apparent because if they have started the project in, let's say, 2013 or 2012 or something like that, and 5 years have passed, and you don't see any evidence of even a minimum viable product, I would say, give this a miss, right? so
Yeah.
so this is very important, right? And again, going back to what are the sources that you can tap on, Twitter, Discord, this will be interesting for a lot of people, LinkedIn, and even Reddit, right? So these are some sources that you can actually do more research on. Okay. That brings me to the third point, which is after understanding these projects, then you should ask yourself, okay, what am I good at, right? So, and I get this question all the time, right? So, oh, I'm not a technical person and things like that. I cannot write code and so what am I going to do, right? So,
Mm.
again, that's fine because, like I said, not everyone is a coder, not everyone is technically inclined, and it's okay, right? But know that there are a lot of roles out there that are not specifically for just developers or coders, right? If you are a developer or coder, kudos to you because then obviously you are higher in demand, but that doesn't mean that you do not have a role in the crypto space if you are not, right? That could mean you could be a product manager, right? So you could even be a business development manager, looking from the business angle. If you are a trader, purely in finance, you have dealt with equities or even FX products, that'll be interesting as well. If you have none
Mm.
of the above, that's also okay, because there's always there are always roles like community managers, customer support and things like that. Now, a lot of people look down on these roles, but I would tell you that these are roles that will allow you to have a ringside seat to the project, because you will
Oh,
understand
okay.
what, yeah, you will understand what people are asking, and you get to
Mm.
interface with a lot of all these so-called um, uh, I would say, the public, right? So
Mm.
that's number three. And
Yeah,
following on,
this kind of yeah,
yeah,
sorry. I have a question here from Maria Tolkacheva.
yeah,
This
sure,
actually links to her question, which is what role does a business person, a newly business graduate, play in the crypto company? So,
sure.
except for what you just said, is there any other positions out there?
So it really, like I said, it really depends on what you want to do, because I've seen business people who went on to become coders, right? So you can take on Solidity programming courses. Not difficult to pick up, to be honest, right? So
Mm.
it can be done. In fact, I can follow up after this session with one of the sources. In fact, this person has zero skills in programming, but within 9 months, this person managed to get a job at one of the top crypto firms, right? So, but of
Mm.
course, that takes a lot of willpower, of course. But if you are just a pure business person, a lot of projects out there require salespeople, right? If you think
Mm.
about it, every company needs to increase their revenue, right? And also,
Yeah.
people sell to people, right? So at the end of the day, you are a critical piece of this puzzle, right? Because without
Mm.
without you, I would say that a lot of these projects are just pushing out products, but if nobody uses it, then nobody use it, right? So I think that's another thing to take note of, right? So in fact, there could also be roles for translators, right? So some of these projects could be based out of, let's say, US or some other countries, and then they need somebody to translate it in the own native language, for example, German or Japanese or Korean. And if you are, let's say, if you know multiple languages, you can do that too, right? So there are many ways to contribute, right? The
Mm.
only thing that you should be mindful of is, just be very open minded, right? Don't fixate yourself in, oh, I can only do this, right? So try your hands at anything, and that brings me to my fourth point, which is to volunteer, right?
Mm.
So for example, this project, now, understand that all these are still startups, right? Startups, by the nature of it, they are constantly looking for mileage out of their resources, right? And what I mean by that is that, the more people help them, without expecting anything in return, right? The better
Yeah.
it is, right? But that doesn't mean that you will never get anything out of it, because by volunteering, that allows you to then interact with the team who is running the project, and then thereby allow you again to understand the project better. And I've seen cases, in fact, um, um, and I've done this for my project as well. So this person came on board as a volunteer, and later on we actually hired her to be one of the business development managers, right? And the reason is because she was very, very helpful initially, right, without expecting anything in return, right?
Mm.
So, and then she knows everything, about the project. And when we finally uh, receive funding, who better to turn to than her, right? Because she's
Mm.
already so-called quote unquote onboarded with us, right? So that's
Mm.
point number four. Point number five, I would say, is interesting. So this is what we call a side hustle, right? So side hustle means, you can start by, writing, right? So for example, let's say you read up on certain things, you start writing a blog, or even small applications if you're a coder, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
if you are if you if you can go to the extent of creating your own YouTube channel, that's great as well, right? So you can do that. I think after a while, then you get into this groove of understanding what projects are good, what projects are not good, and people will start to notice you, right? And then they will come to you as,
Mm.
hey, so and so, Beverly, do you want to help us, because we noticed that you are actually into this space, that kind of thing. So a lot of so-called the influencers out there started off doing this, right? A lot of them have full-time jobs, 9 to 5, doing something totally different from crypto. But then they started off having their own small little YouTube channel, but then later on it just blew up, right? So then they switched
Mm.
to full-time, right? That's another option.
Yeah.
Okay. Point number 6, repeat step number 1, right? Research again, right? So this concept of research, I cannot overstate it, because like I said, crypto space is extremely fast moving. So you need to be able to keep up with all the
Mm.
developments. Okay, and finally, number 7, don't give up. Okay, a lot of us know Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest of all time in NBA. But do you know that he's the ranked number one for the number of misses uh, in the entire NBA history? He's number one, right? But
Oh,
he's
I didn't
also,
know.
yeah. So you know what they say, right? You miss all the shots that you don't make. But he makes so many shots. He missed so many shots, but at the same time, he created a lot of value for his team. Bringing them
Yeah.
to 5 NBA championships, MVP, 18-time All-Star, and whatnot. But he's the number one person ranked for missing the most number of shots, right? So that goes to say that never give up, just keep going, right? Try to learn as much as possible. Okay, so
Mm.
I just have a few more slides, maybe just to breeze through, right? So
Yeah, we have a
now,
couple of questions here, but you do it and then we take the questions afterwards.
sure. So there are a lot of scam projects, right? Again, if you're in crypto, please know that there are a lot of projects that seem to be doing very well, but they're not, right? So they sound
Mm.
great, and they masquerade as a great projects, but they're not, right? Of course, this picture is just it's just a joke,
Illustrating.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
illustrating. But be careful of jargons. So a lot of projects, they throw in jargons like decentralization, blockchain, blah blah blah, and all those things. Just be careful. A lot of projects that use these words doesn't mean that they're good projects, right? Because for the not so familiar, those that are not so familiar with the all these jargons, they will think that, oh yeah, they're doing something great, but actually they're not, right?
Mm.
Again, plagiarism is extremely common in the crypto space, right? Everyone is copying from everyone. The question is, who can execute better, right? So that's another thing, right? Always do your own research. Okay.
Yeah. If you would estimate like the percentage of scams there are out there, how much would that be?
Wow. I would
Maybe a
say
broad
that,
question.
yeah, I mean, it's difficult to answer because so some are just downright scams, right? Because they're just what we call cash grab, right? So they're out to
Mm.
to to get the most money in the shortest amount of time. Those are pure outright scams. But those that are not so outright scams are projects that take in money, but then they don't execute for many number of years, right? So do you call them scams? It's tough, right? So which is why
Yeah.
I would say that always go back to the what we call first principles, right? Which means you understand whether the team in the first place have the experience and the requisite experience. That's number one. And number two is that are they able to execute, or do I see evidence of execution? During those months that they got funded, right? So
Mm.
these are some examples, right? So examples of jobs, like for example, Amazon recently came up with this digital currency and blockchain product lead, right? Again, you do not need to be a coder, right? You just need to know uh, um, uh, what's the roadmap of some of these projects. Have you seen? You understand what Solana is. You understand what's L1, L2, and things like that. Okay. Of course, things like you see. this is just this was just yesterday, I think. Yeah, September 7th, right? Looking for community managers. I would actually, if I'm a student or even somebody who's considering a career in crypto, I would actually apply for that, right? Just to
Mm.
understand what's out there, right? And then, of course, you also have things like Walmart also looking for digital currency and cryptocurrency product lead. Okay, so plenty of examples, but
Yeah.
I've just one last slide, and this is in general, right? So I would say that again, define what your success is, right? I mean, this is more career in general, but again, if you go into crypto understanding that you want to build the next unicorn, that's fine, but understand that this is not the only way to do it, right? Not everyone can build a unicorn, right? And neither should you think that that's the only measurement of success, right? And then know what's important to you, right? And this is a career in general, right? Because at the end of the day, there's so many things pulling you in thousands of directions, but the question is, what's important to you, right? Relationship, health, learning, good sleep, exercising regularly and things like that, right? And also time for family and friends. And the other thing that I always tell people is that prioritize learning, right? So there's always this conundrum, right? Do I take the money and then, or do I learn, but money is not so good? Always prioritize learning over money. Of course, the best is you have both at the same time, right? And again, disrupt yourself before others do, right? If you have been
Yeah.
in a certain career for a while, then you must think of, what's the value add that you bring to the organization, right? What else can you upgrade or upskill yourself, right? Finally, do you find that what you're doing is meaningful? So despite all this talk about crypto being the next big thing or whatnot, do you like doing it, and is it meaningful, right? And are you
Mm.
happy doing it? Because at the end of the day, if you just join or run after the next shiny new thing, you're not going to last long in this industry, because things move so fast that you will not be able to catch up. But if you really find it exciting, you enjoy doing it, I think you have a fantastic career in the crypto space. Yeah. So that's all I have. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Branson. Really great presentation. And I feel like I've got a deeper insight of the crypto industry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So now we have actually a couple of questions, actually a lot of them. So I'm just gonna go ahead.
Yeah. Sure.
So we have Mohammed. He asked how to enter into industry being a cloud develop engineer with 15 plus IT experience.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Mohammed. So, interestingly, I've seen a lot of resumes from engineers, right? So they have interesting experience, I would say, but not necessarily directly involved in crypto or blockchain. I would say that if you have quote unquote the normal IT skills, right? I would then probably take the same steps, which is to first do some research and understand what are some of the more interesting companies out there, and then perhaps in since you have IT experience, I think picking up a little bit of coding will not hurt, and maybe start developing some small little apps, right? And then showcase it to some of the prospective companies. I think they'll be more than happy, and that will, put you way above anyone else, because the chances of people developing apps on their own is very low, right? But if you can do
Mm,
that and showcase it to your prospective employers, amazing, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good tip. Hope it answers your question, Mohammed. And then we have another one from Maria Tolkacheva. We've been touching upon this question before, but we might as well answer because it was three questions in one. So, what role does a business person, a newly business graduate, play in a crypto company? What would be the task, and how does a career in the industry look like? What industries will be the first to adopt the crypto technology large scale?
Sure. So I think I've answered the first part. Let me just very quickly touch on use cases and industries. I think if you go back to the original white paper that was written in 2009, essentially it was named as a peer-to-peer electronic cash register, right? So by that definition, I would say that the first or the lowest hanging fruit in terms of industry to be disrupted, if you put it that way, is the finance industry, right, or the financial industry.
Mm,
So I think that that's the first one. But having said that, I think we have seen a lot of use cases in the blockchain space from the angle of supply chain, right? And also provenance. Provenance meaning how do I track the origin of this particular product or food product, right? So I think that those are the so-called low hanging fruits. Yeah.
mm. Okay, thank you, Maria. Then we have another question from Sachin. Are there any roles for HR in crypto organizations?
Yes, in fact, over the past 2 days, I've seen two separate companies put out the roles for people leader. Yeah, people leader in the startup, right? So that's
Mm,
purely to me a HR role. In fact, I would say that a lot of all these startups or crypto players, they really need somebody to help them perform that role of pulling together everyone, because more often than not you will see that all these crypto companies, they are operating like I mean, I don't want to use this word, but it's in a decentralized manner, right? So you have someone sitting out of Singapore, and then a bunch of people in Indonesia, a few other business development people in the US or Europe, right? So it's a very diverse team, right? Then the question is, how do you pull all this group, this people sitting in different offices? What do you do in terms of culture, right? And how do you make sure that everyone stays connected and moving in the same direction? So I think that's a very important role for HR. Yeah.
yeah. But how does it look today with the different departments? For example,
Uh,
in your company?
Yeah, so in fact, we have this similar structure. So we have different teams in different countries. But again, what we do is that we usually organize a weekly call between everyone, and that, I mean, some companies they call it all hands. Some company call it a weekly meeting or whatever. I mean, you can call it anything,
Mm,
but at the end of the day, I think it's important for startups to actually create a culture for themselves. Yeah.
yeah. All right, thank you. And then we have another question from Nancy Marine Antoine. What advice would you give to someone who is not tech savvy?
Yeah, sure. I think I've touched on this previously. So not everyone is a coder. That's fine. I would say that you should also start. Maybe the first step is to understand the different projects out there, and it's very simple, right? Because most of the companies out there, they have websites that explain to you how they apply to the different industries, right? If you contrast this with 5 years ago, right? I've attended countless number of webinars or even meetings or meetups. They always talk about algorithm, right? What's the next algorithm? How do we do this? How do we do that? But I think those days are gone. They are more towards, most companies are more cognizant of the fact that they need to be um, people friendly or more user friendly. So they have gone to the extent of explaining what they do in a very layman term, right? So I think that would be the first step, understanding the project, and then after that, I would do the same thing, which is to start volunteering for different projects. In fact, you can even start a meetup group in Singapore, right? So let's say this company or this startup is based out of I don't know, Sweden or whatever. Then you can
Mm,
tell them that, hey, you know what? Let me start a local chapter for you, right? You can do that, right? So straight away you have
mm,
a, I mean, running an event should be, I mean, it's not easy, but it doesn't require coding skills. Yeah.
yeah. Do you host any events or do you have any groups?
Yeah, I have a blockchain for business meetup group. A
Oh,
little bit
okay.
dormant, but I do have one. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right. Yeah, maybe I should join it later then.
yeah.
All right. And then we have a question from Satyam. Are there opportunities to interface with US-grown crypto companies like Silica for a case study on their growth strategies?
Any opportunities to interface? Yeah, so there are many companies out there. In fact, there are many companies based in Singapore, right? Again, the same thing, right? So I would go to their website, look for their Telegram group, uh, or some other groups that they are in, and then start talking to some of the founders or the team, right? I think that
Mm,
would be the best way, right? So you must take the first step to understand what the project is, and then try to get involved. And if they have any meetups, probably less so now because of the pandemic. But I think once this, if in fact they have a lot of Zoom meetings as well, right? Zoom meetups and all those things. You can actually, attend those. But when things are better, I think you can actually meet up in person. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Interesting question. Thank you, Satyam. And then Mohit has a question. How would beginners identify such scams during their research? So you
Yeah.
mentioned
Thanks.
research is the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mohit. So it's very simple. Like I said, I think you try to always do some research on the team first, right? So,
Mm,
for example, there are teams, or there is a startup in the blockchain gaming, for example, right? So I would try to understand whether the founders themselves have come from gaming companies like Blizzard, or very some notable um, um, gaming companies out there. Uh, uh, that's the first step, right? But that is still not the foolproof manner. Then I would then go on to look at their roadmap, right? Are they what is the roadmap like? What have they planned out, right? Is it realistic, right? I think that's a very important point, right? So some companies will tell you, hey, we want to build an exchange, we want to create an payment space, we want to go into mining, we want to do this, we want to do that. So the question is it realistic, right? If they are trying to do 10 things at the same time, chances are that this is not quite, it's not going to happen, right? So I think
yeah.
that comes back to the same point. Do a bit of research and understand what can be done, what cannot be done. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next question is from Olia. If we don't have crypto account or application, can we join in this business and how? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I think this is similar to one other questions that I see. Um, it is not that you cannot. I would say that you will not be able to fully understand or get an appreciation of what this industry is about, right?
Mm,
It's just like if I want to be a chef, but I don't like food. I mean, chances are you're not going to make it, right?
yeah.
Because by definition of being a chef, I think you must be able to like food and work in the kitchen and whatnot, right? So I think that's the first step, right? So, but that said, we're not asking people to go in and buy Bitcoin or whatever. That's not what we're trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that you must have experimented with some of the wallets out there, understand what are some of the projects, play around with some of the DeFi projects, protocols, and whatnot. Again, start with very small amounts, right? Again, I'm not asking you to buy any coins or whatever, but that will give you an appreciation of why this industry is why is everyone so crazy about this industry, right? There must be a reason, right? So there's been a lot of focus on the price action, how much Bitcoin is trading at and whatnot. But I think more importantly is what problems are the startups trying to solve, right? And how does it change the way we interact with each other, right? I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next question is from Katrina. I'm a mid-career individual. Should I join the industry?
Yeah. Thanks. Now this is a very interesting question. Um, if you are in mid-career, there's also there are a lot of opportunities for you as well. But
Yeah.
I think first of all, you must understand, what exactly are you trying to achieve here? If your intention is to understand or join a new industry, but do you like it, right? I think that's the question I asked earlier, right? So if you do, then what you need to do is to then sort of again go into some of these Discord channels, Telegram groups, understand what they're talking about, and also try to read up on some of these projects, white papers and whatnot. And if you like it, then why not, right? So again, coming back to my point earlier, you have there are plenty of roles out there which are non-technical, and it is very very rewarding. I would say. I think this space is only going to grow. So look out for
Yeah.
your own, yeah, your own strengths, I would say.
Mm, thank you. Good answer. So Kevin, he has a question about that startups are risky by nature. How would you evaluate a crypto startup to see if it's worth taking the plunge?
Sure. Yeah. So I think I covered most of this before, but just to maybe do a summary on this. Uh, Look at the team, right? Number one, look at the team. Number two, understand the evidence of execution, right? And
Yeah,
also what the roadmap, right? Those three things: team, roadmap, evidence of execution. I think this, if you have these three sorted, I think you are more or less, on a good path. Yeah.
thank you. And next question is from Tong Wong. Some friends said it's fad. How to let them know how the cryptocurrency would be in the future? And do you think the cryptocurrency will replace the note currency one day?
That's a that's a loaded
Tricky
question.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So whether it's a fad or not, I would say that I would first, get my friend to test out the wallet, right? So download the wallet, send your friend some coins, hopefully not a lot, but let them test it out, right? So at the end of the day, if they experience, the application of crypto itself, I think that itself, speaks volumes, right? So instead of you trying to tell them, hey, this is interesting, let them experience it, right? That's number one.
Mm,
Um, the question is, will it replace note currency? Um, it really depends on what you're talking about, right? So, but as it is, I think we are already seeing a lot of central banks around the world experimenting with central bank digital currency or CBDCs. Um,
yeah.
Arguably, I would say that these are not decentralized currencies. But let's not go there. It's a more it's a very long topic. But I would say that digital currency by itself is not new. I think most of us are already using a form of digital currency, right? So if you go to the bank today, it's all digital, right? It's all numbers, and then you don't physically see your money, right? In fact, more often than not, I don't even carry a lot of cash in my wallet nowadays. But most people transact through PayNow and whatnot, right? So I think
Mm,
digital currency is already here. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And then one question from Ang Hu Min. Must I own Bitcoin before I can make it in this industry?
So this is similar to the previous question. Again,
Yeah.
uh, you must like food before before you can become a chef. So I would say, try it first. If you really like it, I think then you can take further steps into this industry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And that was the question. We don't have any more questions. So feel free to ask if you have anything more. Is there something else that you would like to share, Branson?
No, I think these are good questions. I think at the end of the day, of course, there are many ways to get started. But I think what I've shared earlier is what I've seen and what I've experienced, right?
Mm,
And this is what is recommended by a lot of startup founders as well, right? Because
yeah.
if you try to apply for a job with a crypto startup, I think the first thing that they will ask you is, how much do you know about our project? Can you show evidence that you are interested in this industry, right? I think that's the most important question that they will ask you. Maybe not specifically in this format, but maybe they will ask, like, for example, do you know about this? Do you know about that? But that is also to gauge your interest in this industry, because the last thing they want is somebody who is um, interested in a certain thing because it is, the flavor of the month or flavor of the year, right? So I think that is the key distinction here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that key differentiation. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, we actually have some more questions. So Namisha is asking, what kind of roles are available at the moment?
Uh, yeah, Namisha, there are many roles out there. In fact, more than I can count. There are many companies looking for project managers, business development, head of HR. There are also all sorts, right? So even to the extent of content writer, for example, right? So they need somebody to write pieces of content, right? If you're a writer, then yeah, why not, right? So I think it goes back to understanding what this industry is about. Read as much as you can, absorb as much as you can. I think from there, you will find that all these roles are basically just another extension for what you're doing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you, Namisha. And then one from Lauren Fung. This question is quite long. As a traditional equity sales trader, do you think any crypto trading firm is open for me to volunteer as one of their crypto trader? As I really want to learn the mechanisms of crypto infrastructure while I'm trying to embrace fully in the ever-changing disruptive blockchain world.
Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. So I think volunteering as a trader may not work here. But I would say that I would start off by understanding what the project is, right? And try to work on roles that are not specific to trading first, right? So, for example, I can be a community manager, or I can be a content writer. I can be a digital marketer for one or two of these crypto startups, or I can even help to organize some of these meetups or whatever. Then from there, once I get a foot in, then what you would be able to do is to then translate your trading skills over to other crypto companies, right? So I think again, the key here is to be able to demonstrate that you have so-called pay your dues, right? Because if you just try to walk into any crypto startups because you have this specific skill set, I think that may not work so well, especially in trading, right? But having said that, I would say that trading in general, whether you're a technical analyst or what or not, that applies to crypto as well. Yeah. So I think the skill set
Yeah.
is transferable. Yeah.
Mm. All right. Thank you so much, Lauren. And now we come to an end with this live session. Are there anything more that you would like to say, Branson?
No, I think this space is only going to grow. So I really
Yeah.
welcome people to join this industry. I think again, I would say that it's going to be a very exciting few years. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Branson. And
thank you,
big
Beverly.
thanks to our audience who have been asking great questions. So that was it for this session. And see you again in 2 weeks for our last session, where we will be talking about the future of cryptocurrency. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.